Welcome back to a brand new Clash Royale video, guys. My name is Chief Pat, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Mini PEKKA Cycle Deck, and I'm going to show you guys how to play it inside of a couple of battles. Now, notice my deck. I have a bunch of really small cards. I have the goblins, the spear goblins, the skeletons, and it makes the deck extremely quick to use, meaning you can keep cycling through your cards pretty quickly, and overall, it's pretty popular up in the higher ranks, and I'm sure you guys probably see it inside of lower trophy counts as well. So starting off, I'm going to drop some goblins to attack his tower. Normally, I would never drop goblins down the lane by themselves, but whenever you're facing someone who's a level below you, it does take 3 shots for the towers to take your goblins out. So in that case, he had to respond with a cannon, making it a pretty decent trade. And let's go ahead and go for a push down the left-hand lane with the Mini PEKKA spear goblins as well as the goblins. But I dropped those goblins just a second too early. He ended up taking me out, and overall not too shabby since he did use those arrows, which means we can go on a crazy offensive assault with the minion horde. Something that you guys probably have seen a lot are decks that try to get you to waste your arrows. In this case, I got him to use his arrows on those small amount of troops, and then it made it so I could use my minion horde and princess at the same time. Those decks are extremely common. I definitely would recommend that you either have some other ranged troop that can help out, like wizard can take care of a minion horde, some other troops as well if you're going to use your arrows on something like the princess or a small amount of troops. But so far so good. 1000 HP left on that left-hand tower. Let's go ahead and go for another small push with the Mini PEKKA as well as the skeletons, and I'm going to end up freezing both the cannon as well as the crown tower. So Mini PEKKA got close to getting a hit, unfortunately not going to get it off. So let's go ahead and reset with a little bit of defense, using our own princess in the back as well as a couple of goblins to turn that giant skeleton around. Okay, so not too shabby there. Looks like our princess actually got in touch with that giant bomb, which was really annoying. I'm gonna have to play some defense against this goblin barrel, which I'll use a Mini PEKKA to do. Fortunately, one goblin did actually attack the Mini PEKKA instead of the tower. He's gonna play another cannon for defense, and that's gonna let my Mini PEKKA run down the lane, take that out, and we're sort of just gonna reset as we go into overtime. So this is where the poison kicks in. We can use the poison directly on the tower as well as the princess. That's going to be a very positive trade. And from here on out, I could probably just use the poison spell to take him out. The poison spell does 330 damage over time at max rank, which is pretty solid. And overall, he made a pretty nice play there with those arrows. I was just trying to get through some of my cards. But now we can use our minion horde to try to make a push against his tower. Now, unfortunately, he did drop that giant skeleton to counter us. 2 minions did survive, which are going to end up dominating this elixir pump. And still, we have our poison spell going crazy on that crown tower. And with 217 HP left, only just a tiny bit remaining for us to take out, and one more poison spell will be able to do it. And again, one of the strengths of this deck is that look at all the small troops that I can keep dropping over and over to get to a poison spell quickly. We don't have to drop like a 5 elixir prince to get to our next card. We can just use skeletons, goblins, and spear goblins, and as our princess shoots over the top, that's going to give us the victory 1 crown to 0. And more often than not, that's the type of stuff you see with this strategy. There's not a lot of 3 crown victories because a lot of your cards are so small and so weak. So let's go and hop into another. This one I'm going to be using the elixir pump in, but normally I would advise for the poison spell. I was testing a couple of different combinations against a bunch of different decks, and I found that the poison spell was pretty effective. In this deck that I'm running right here, I actually don't have any direct damage cards, and going against someone that's using a mortar, that's probably the #1 counter to this deck, just because so many of the cards are so squishy. So hopefully we can stay alive for long enough to where this mortar doesn't get to overtime and take us out, because the mortar is super strong as you go into overtime. Personally, that's where I feel like it's the most imbalanced right now. People can continually drop mortars on both sides of the map, which makes it extremely annoying. And yeah, okay, well, so far we're looking okay. Princess will be able to take care of this horde. Skeletons going down as well to try to distract that minion horde. Arrows will take care of our princess, but still, we've got the spear goblins, which can shoot down his princess as well. It takes about 4 hits. And yeah, we're only going to take a little bit of damage on that right-hand tower. Time to reset. And again, one simple push you can use with this deck is using the Mini PEKKA plus the goblins or the skeletons. But look at that cannon. He's obviously setting up for a mortar push, which is going to be a bit depressing. Let's go ahead and play our elixir collector to try to distract that mortar. And then now we have to make a little bit of a decision, which we're going to use our minion horde to try to take care of this mortar. So actually turned out pretty well. We're going to be able to take it out. Cannon really didn't do too much for the 3 elixir that he played on it. And our elixir pump is still pumping away, but still really wish I had the poison spell. It would work a lot better against that goblin hut as well as that princess. And yeah, looks like my princess should be able to snipe his down, and now it's just shooting away at these spear goblins, doing a pretty awesome job. Okay, so time to make that push. Let's go in with the Mini P.E.K.K.A and the goblins. He's going to end up using the minion horde, but I'm going to freeze that just in time for our Mini P.E.K.K.A to get a bunch of hits off. Look as that tower drops to 42 hit points, but still, with no direct damage in our deck, we still have to get to the tower somehow, some way. And now that we're into overtime, he's going to be spamming us with mortars. You're going to see a lot of Pat Rage right here because things are about to get extremely annoying. Well, our Mini P.E.K.K.A was able to take care of that mortar, but still his princess is going to start shooting at my princess, and he's going to keep cycling through these mortars. Every 15 seconds, a mortar is probably going to pop up. Looks like this one actually ended up and hit the tower. We're going to have to try to freeze it to save our life a little bit. Doesn't look like he had a rocket inside of his deck. I didn't know that when I was playing. Normally when I play mortar users, I assume that they're using the rocket to finish off the tower. But at this point, we're going to need to play a pretty solid defense. But luckily for us, using that free spell reset the mortar's target, and now it's targeting our elixir collector instead of our tower. And let's go ahead and go with the minion horde, see if they can start taking some stuff out. Unfortunately, they're going to get caught by that princess pretty well. And at this point, we're sort of just clinging on for dear life. If we still had that poison spell, we would probably be in the driver's seat, but that's obviously not the case. Looks like we're going to use some spear goblins to try to shoot at this mortar. Our tower's down to 999 HP, and with each mortar shot doing about a third of our tower, we can only take one more hit of the mortar before we die. So fortunately for us, that minion horde was just enough to take it out, and barely by the skin of our teeth, the AoE of the princess actually sniped down that tower. I was super surprised when that happened. I was sort of resigned to losing that match because the mortar deck counters my deck past 2 minutes into the battle. So let's go and hop into another. This one's against MCDJ. This is another different type of deck. You can see that I'm not playing the same players over and over again. This guy's using double prince. The last guy used mortar. I forget what the guy before that used, probably just some sort of cookie cutter deck. But starting off with those spear goblins, let's go ahead and play a free spell to stop these princes in their tracks. So free spell comboed with some of these small troops should be enough to take out that push. And now with some of our troops running down the lane, he's going to have to probably just hang out. We should actually get a little bit of damage with our princess onto his crown tower. At least I thought we would. It doesn't look like it was in range, unlike that last battle. But still, Elixir Pump will help defend against those goblins as we reset for the rest of the battle. Again, I did a couple of these raids thinking that the Elixir Collector might not be a bad idea, but if you guys are going to try this deck out, I definitely recommend the Poison Spell. I feel like the Poison Spell is super good against the Flood decks that are super common up here. I feel like they're super good against the Princess. They're good against some of the Spammer decks, so definitely recommend that you guys try it out with the Poison Spell instead of the Elixir Collector. And as I dropped those skeletons, again, I didn't need to do that on purpose. I knew that they would have been taken out by the Dark Prince, but still, it was definitely worth stopping his charge for that one elixir, and overall started to be a pretty favorable trade. Okay, so taking a look at the score right now, we're at 1 minute and 30 seconds left. There's only 42 HP on that top right-hand tower. Again, with no direct damage inside of this deck, it makes it extremely hard to close off battles when you don't have that poison spell. So let's go ahead and stop the P.E.K.K.A as well as the Prince in their tracks. Looks like our bunch of small troops plus the Mini P.E.K.K.A should be able to take that out. And as the Mini P.E.K.K.A turns around for the tower, skeletons are going to stop him in his tracks, or her in his tracks, her in her tracks. And the goblins will be able to finish off the rest of the push. Okay, so again, we're still trying to get to that tower. If we can use something like our spear goblins or our princess to get a quick shot off and take it out, that should be all we need. You're going to see me try to spam as much as I can in just a second, really just trying to get the job done. I'm spamming some spear goblins up front. I'm using my princess to try to take it out as well. And we're just going to need one more hit. I think the spear goblins do 50 damage by themselves to take out the tower. So let's go ahead and see what we can do. Okay, so Minion Horde went down because I knew he didn't have the arrows, so he dropped his prince to try to cycle through to them. I'm going to use the skeletons in front of the prince to take those out. Mini P.E.K.K.A is going to help out as well. And again, spear goblins are all we need to get the victory. Let's go ahead and drop a pretty solid push right here. Princess is going to target the Ice Wizard, which will shoot down that tower. And from here on out, all we have to do is play defense. We've finally gotten the first crown with this deck, and then nothing else to really worry about going into the rest of the battle. So Elixir Pump on defense with 10 seconds left. Obviously, he's not going to be able to win this game. Good game to MCDJ. And these were a couple examples of the Mini PEKKA Cycle Deck and how to use it effectively. Again, I think the Poison Spell or the arrows, you can even use Fireball, are better than the Elixir Collector, but I did try it out in a couple of the first battles, and it still served me pretty well. I don't think It's great in this type of strategy, but it does serve as sort of a defense for some of your troops. So yeah, 1 crown to 0 victory as usual. And if you take a look at my battle log, I've actually won every single match I've had using this deck so far. I've tried it about 4 or 5 times to most success, and I'm going to keep using it towards the future. Maybe it's something I'll throw in my arsenal later into the trophy push as far as this season goes, but for now, it's another deck up my sleeve that I can use, and for you guys, it's definitely something you can try out as well. So yeah, that's going to do it for this video, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you drop a like, and until next time, I will see you guys later. Peace!